this series, but also maybe for the rest of Hanwha's playoffs. Redacted not coming through this time, though.
Yeah. And keep in mind, I believe the way that we do it is the lower seed gets side selection on games 2 and 4. So I think this is Nongshim selecting red side.
And that's going to be great for a Thresh left open here. As I was expecting to see the Udyr come through, you know, with this setup here over the Renekton, or the Renekton's here over the Hecarim. And this means that you can grab the Thresh here and see what Hanwha picks. I mean, that's an old Duck Dom favorite, right? Graves actually a pretty good pick for Peanut, I think, but he's going to go for the Nidalee instead. It looks like. Well, I mean, this is actually that makes me nervous when you're debating. This is actually like a pretty standard choice. Like if you pick red side, you need to have a plan in place. Death once again will get Kalista. You can't ban everything. Ooh. Nico with it though this time. See if Vista can have another top tier performance on this support. Assuming that's where it goes because it can be flexed.
Yeah, I mean if 2 of you wants to hop on the Nico, I suppose he could.
What's 20 champions?
Could also go to the top side. But most likely, as you mentioned, down in the bottom side, kind of popularized by Keria alongside of Teddy down there.
We'll take the Jinx instead of the Aphelios here. And I think that the margin of error is much lower with the Jinx in terms of her power, her ability to actually affect objectives, for example.
She's now a Baron stealer.
Yeah. And she also has a lot of you know, potential to really dominate lane if you have a good lane. It feels more than Aphelios can necessarily. You know, he's obviously a lot of what he can do in lane is based on his ammo type, whereas Jinx is just going to be consistent every trade on the bottom side. With the Hecarim pick, could even see some resources given down to the bottom side to try to get this Jinx fed early. Because again, your win rate, or your win condition for Nongshim, I think, against Hanwha Esports is just to get Duck Dom as far ahead as possible. He got it for free last game. This time, I don't think he's going to have an early kill in the jungle. You know, he's not going to have that defensive invade kill.
Yeah.
Silas banned away here again, and they'll take the Scion, so really thinning Morgan out here quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see if they just ban away the Gragas here, right? When Rich doesn't get to pick his champion in the first phase, you can take away both of his picks, right? He plays 2 things. It's Aatrox and Gragas, but they're going to leave that available. I think that would be a nice pick to just go ahead and snatch up here.
It's very good blind. You save Bay's pick for last.
Didn't help him too much in the last game,
no,
unfortunately.
But, I mean, look, he had some big issues in some of the later parts of the game, but I think he did still play lane very well. And, you know, it's ranged versus Renekton. There's things you can do with that. And set here, actually, into potentially the Gragas on the top side of the map would be really interesting to see. And, I mean, this is assuming Nico is going to be support. We don't know 100%, but it's very likely. And they will lock that in. So, Hanwha Esports really just throwing some curveballs in this first best of 5 that I feel like is just not absolutely necessary. There's the Victor that should confirm where everybody's going. And now the question is, what's Bay's counterpick to the Victor? Azir is open, and I think would be a pretty strong option for the composition right now. Give him a little bit more engaged with the casks. You know, Syndra has been his most played champion, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and he actually has his best win rate on it as well. But it's a really... I feel like the thing about Bay is you put him on a champion like Syndra, and he does fine in lane. Maybe some of the early skirmishes, he rotates in on time and everything's okay. But in the late game, he's not going to have the same amount of power as a different Syndra player would, just because he's not that type of player. And I don't mean to say that he's a weaker player. I mean to say that he doesn't actually take initiative sometimes in these fights. Like, he waits for other people to set up fights for him and then try to kind of sit back and plays consistently like that. And that's why he likes to play Syndra so much, because she can play like that. But the best Syndras, the Syndras who are going to get into round 2 of playoffs, like, they play aggressive. They actually take chances. And I feel like Azir is just so much more straightforward. And I feel like that's where my concern is with this composition for Nongshim. I don't think the Syndra is bad in a vacuum. But with Bay in particular, I am concerned. I feel like the Hanwha Esports comp just plays itself, right? I mean, you have really strong engage with the set. You have a really good lockdown with the Udyr to follow things up. It's, again, almost dive like they played in game number 1. It feels very similar in how it's going to be played. They have so much consistent engage, and the scaling with the Victor is, you know, really what I was expecting to see more of in the last game.
Yeah.
But this works out very well. They give the Victor instead of Vlad, put the Renekton top. That's what I expected. This time they go down that path, and it feels very straightforward. I think for Nongshim, Duckdom really needs to be the carry here once again.
Yeah, I don't think that will change ever for any draft that comes in here, but especially as you're highlighting here when he is on the Jinx. So wasn't able to quite pull this team over the line in game number 1, but maybe here on the Jinx, kind of that hyper carry style that is a little bit more straightforward. It's not as feast or famine like the Ezreal can be, like I was mentioning in game number 1. If you get ahead, you get excited, and you can just win team fights by yourself in the extreme late game. So we'll see if he can do that. I kind of like that Victor last pick from Chovy. As you mentioned, the comps are pretty similar. Nongshim's, they lose a lot of their poke that they had with Zoe. Ezreal, they replace it with Syndra. Jinx, which is just more team fight oriented, right? It's not looking to poke them out before the fight really comes in. They do have an okay amount of poke, but not as much. And you know, a little bit more dive with the set coming in here. You don't only rely on the teleport flanks to sometimes engage if you don't have the rel. And with the Victor, with a massive front line like that, that's kind of just going to be diving in and taking a lot of the pressure away, you can get insane damage numbers and actually carry the game yourself if the game goes long enough.
Yep, definitely true. Snow's on the player cams. Peanut and crew actually looking in pretty good spirits, Duckdom especially. And you like to see that going into a second game like this. Like I said, I think you overperformed in game 1, and you've got to be feeling good about, you know, not the result, but actually how the game was played. If you're Nongshim here. The Vista's first Nico of the tournament. We've seen on a few supports this season. I think Life was the first to play it, but it's definitely getting a little bit more popular. Chovy is just doing Chovy things here in the mid lane. Not missing a beat, and also getting a lot of harass done.
Yeah. I think it was Keria though, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. It was Keria.
Yeah.
Keria has played like a little bit of everything, and has looked very good all season long.
Yeah. Vista, you know, he doesn't really get a lot of the highlight on this team because you're on a team with Chovy and Deft. I think that's going to naturally happen, but he's been pretty good. You know, I think I was pretty pleasantly surprised in the beginning of spring. You know, when we first started, we were still remote casting from home. Vista was one of those guys where I was actually a little bit impressed because we didn't expect, you know, crazy stuff out of this player, but he's been pretty consistent. I've liked this play all split.
Yeah, no, he's been very good. Chovy is just, I mean, this is, I mean, it's actually sad because for Bay here, we talked about this matchup being like the most one-sided one across the Rift, and
in the entirety of the playoffs,
yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, it doesn't get any more than this. Like, if you think about the remaining teams, you know, no one's going like, well, Cuz is just like way better than Pyoshi. No, it's what? But you know, it's like you look at this, and the observers are just highlighting and showcasing the gap, right? And I don't think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're just trying to show off Chovy, but like, you can feel it. I mean, this is a standard Victor versus Syndra matchup.
Yeah, there's no secret. I think even Nongshim fans can look at this and say, well, this is just going to be a thing we're going to have to fight through. And was a bit exacerbated in game number 1 as well. The Zoe was kind of invisible. And that can happen sometimes if the enemy dive comp gets really good engages. And as the Zoe, you're given no room. So it's not only a Bay issue. As we're having a nice amount of trading down there. And actually, gonna force the flash out. Here's Rich up on the top side. Nicely done in the 1v1.
Yeah, very well handled here. And that's actually gonna be a nice little start. Could potentially lead to a bit of a snowball. Hard to do against the set. You see Johan is really trying to make a play happen here with Chovy. Now the Bay's trying to turn this lane matchup around. And I think we see a little bit of that hovering because we know Bay has overextended several times today and historically, but also, as you can see, it was Keria, you mentioned it earlier, 2-0. It's also that he picked up a Dark Seal early on in this game, which you very rarely see on Victor, especially to pick up like this at this stage in the game. So they were really trying to get a nice lead for Chovy, and I appreciate Hanwha Esports trying to get value out of their top player. I mean, there's a pretty good chance, it's a bit early and votes were dissident, but there's a pretty good chance that Chovy actually picks up League MVP, especially if Hanwha, somehow end up taking the whole thing. But like, this is it's a type of player that's getting more and more resources from Hanwha in this series, whereas previously, sometimes he was just left to his own devices and not even properly utilized, I feel. Definitely trying to get that victor value this time, a little bit sped up.
Yeah. The Kalista can kind of do her thing down on the bottom side. You can see there's already a 10 CS gap down there. Things are going swimmingly in the early game as they should. Whereas getting your victor fed for the later stage of the game is going to be quite nice. And Jinx also on an 8-game winning streak. Lots of players liking to play this champion, and it is winning a lot nowadays, and especially with the Thresh. The priority that this champion is seeing nowadays, it makes picks that are a little bit weaker, less mobility types in the early game at least, be able to survive if you have that support.
It's also just so good at saving anybody from any situation. It's like a get out of jail free card. You make one mistake, and it's a fairly short cooldown ability that you can just toss out, and if Bay was standing too far forward, in that moment, maybe he gets out after the combo goes off onto him, like a stun comes through. Not going to get you out of the, Pop Blossom situation that we could have later on very easily, but... Okay, this is very aggressive.
Wow.
Forcing a flash.
Yeah, Peanut was coming in for the follow-up, and Rich is level 6, and he's here first. So Chovy did not want to take any chances. He's going to throw out the Chaos Storm. They're trying to take a fight after the fact. As the Rift Scuttler will go the way of Nongshim. Rich is going to try to flash away. Here comes Morgan. Nice scat of the week. And no laser will be in range. So actually, Rich is able to get out of there unscathed.
Yeah. Ends up taking a ton of damage there. A trade of flash with the Udyr. Except being alright.
Okay. Nice try. I mean, but when you miss the play, it's definitely not a good feeling.
Yeah, that's one of the less good feelings for sure. If I put a list, like those tier list good feelings, that will not be it.
Yeah.
It'd be definitely towards the bottom. Sure. You can see the lane is going very well on the bottom side of the map for Deft and Vista. And, the CS lead reflects that.
Ooh, trying to set up a play here. That's a really nice combo that does come in. The fat wall flash not available as Morgan does not have his flash. He's trying to trade it back onto Rich, but he is just dead. Really nice setup here. Rich just dunks him and sets it up for Peanut to come up and take that kill.
Yeah, I mean, this is Rich playing very well in the second game. Game number one, was definitely a little bit less successful, but this has been a great start. I mean, he was pushing Morgan really early on under turret, got his flash, which is, still not back up. And you make a play like that, really nice cask. Peanut's there to catch the ball, man. It was very well played, and
yeah,
they give the gold over to the Hecarim, which means he can be a little bit more aggressive around the map. And Peanut is, we were talking about how Duck Dom is the carry and one of the big focal points, but Peanut is shown to be invaluable already in this series. His early game last game, how defensive he was, his game knowledge, his game sense is just so high.
Yeah. It's kind of like the old Tarzan effect.
Yeah.
When he was just always in the right position. As that's a really nice hook here, but they're looking to turn it around. The amount of damage that comes out from Death is pretty insane. You can see the Ignite is coming in. Vista looking for that kill. Will he tick down? Looks like the answer will be no.
Just barely not. Refillable potion.
That's why you always pop your pots.
Yep. Never miss them, especially when they're refillable. You can get another one back right away. But still, I mean, this is the story of the Kalista. Last game, Deft wasn't able to dominate this well because obviously they gave over an early kill to Duck Dom. He got very ahead. He got a second kill early too. And now, I mean, you can see just how good Deft is at this Kalista. It's drawn so many bans throughout the regular season, but Hanwha Esports just have such a unique drafting style. They play so many odd and unusual champions. Every player has a pretty massive pool. So you ban a lot of things, but you still let the Kalista through. You just don't have a choice. And that's one of the really big strengths of Hanwha here. And Deft is really crushing this early game now, and that's what Kalista needs to do. Imagine last game if Deft was ahead. It would have looked very different, right?
Well, certainly makes it easier now that you didn't just invade at level 1 and have 2 of your bottom laners die. So, able to have a much more kind of straight up fight.
Yeah, this is the cask play. Morgan is just trying his best to turn this one around. But Rich hits too much health. Very simple there. It's a nice cask.
And Nongshim, they're just gonna go for this. As Rich is
in trouble.
Yeah, he's in trouble, but he actually is pretty tanky at this point in time, and they immediately blow up the 2 of them.
That was so well handled again from Peanut. And he just runs right over. They made it look planned the whole way through.
Yeah, and so casually done with that play.
Like it was actually a really hype play, but it just the way they executed it so confidently was massive. But this is going to give over a ton of extra gold. I'm not entirely sure
what is this?
Why Duckdom is not here.
TP is not available just yet for Rich. It's like 10 seconds off. That's a massive wave that they're losing there.
Yeah.
And the Rift Herald leashed.
Like, I mean, they are getting a lot of value themselves on the top side. You know, with Set just now returning, so it ends up being okay here. But it feels like they got robbed a little bit. Like, this definitely didn't need to be this successful. They're going to get the whole thing. 11 minutes, full plates.
Yeah, they're even threatening Rich. They're denying all of this gold.
Yeah, he's not getting any CS.
All of the XP as well. It's just going into the void. Oh, man. That's really huge for Hanwha Life. But as you did mention, with the Rift Herald, at least they're able to trade turrets up on the top side. I'm more just concerned about that giganto wave that was just essentially thrown away.
I mean, not to mention that they had to use the Rift Herald to get this, whereas Hanwha Life was like, well, I don't even need it.
Yeah.
Getting another flash here from Morgan. It's going to be, it's not the end of the world, but certainly limits your options quite a bit. Look at the gold leads, actually. Pretty dead even, in fact, between the 80 carries at the bottom, despite the 20 CS lead. So that kill earlier, and
oh boy, Johan going a little bit too far forward. He is going to flash, and he is Udyr, but Bay presses his gameplay button, and down goes the Udyr. And I'm not sure why he was all alone out there, just trying to get some really deep vision down with no priority, and he just got punished.
Yeah. I mean, a very aggressive play. The thing is, he is Udyr, as you pointed out. They were able to, you know, trade a flash for it, but like, he's definitely the type of champion that can get away with that a lot. You know, this is the type of move that you can make as Udyr oftentimes, and you'll just be totally fine. So I can't hate that move too much. He got greedy though. That was a nice punish from Nongshim, who take a significant gold lead in this game now. As Rich is just trying to get one more turret plate here.
Looked a little bit silly, and now he's actually going to be run down here a little bit. Takes a nice trade, does Morgan.
Yeah,
without his flash.
I think he was 2 autos away from it too. That was just kind of a weird move there to like look posture as if he was going to slap that plate. Ends up being really nice. Actually, it's going to force him to back. We're going to watch this play once again. Johan gets the stun, follow-up. Peanut is here. Perfect ultimate. Really easy. Rich just kind of walked back towards the right side to guarantee that he could actually get that off.
Duckdom helping carry from screens away. I mean, this guy is really trying hard.
Look at how deep he was. I mean, you know, you talked about going deep, and I didn't see where he was at the beginning of that. He was like on wolves deep.
I mean, the 2 wards that he placed were just way in there. You know,
yeah, I mean, he's trying to get a lot of extra information about where Peanut is at all times, but there are consequences.
Yeah.
No consequences here, though.
Yeah, they're going to be fine here, just trading back and forth, very even in the top lane. The difference being is that Rich has he's baited out a lot of flashes. He's been able to set up really advantageous plays. Now we're going to have a 2-on-2 here. Peanut going very deep. Note that depth is around, so it's actually a 3-on-2 Bay taking a lot of damage and is going to be able to help set up the kill, but he goes down. Now Peanut's just going to have to run away from that one, so nice amount of gold handed over to Chovy.
Yeah, definitely could have been a little bit cleaner there, fortunately, but they do trade 1 for 1, and now, I mean, we're at the state of the game where it feels like, you know, Nongshim's composition is working as intended, right? Like, Rich has had several good plays on the Gragas. He's going to be a very stable engage tool for them later on in this game. So watch this one more time. Bay has to go very deep in order to secure this kill. And I feel like he definitely should have just considered dropping it, but he decided to go all the way in. Like, Peanut's going to be able to get out of there by himself without your help, so just pushing the issue, unfortunately, a little bit too far. But the composition for Nongshim is, you know, scaling up as intended, right? And it's going to really be about the execution of it later on to see if they can pull this off, because the one thing that we've seen consistently from Top Set in the spring split here is that he definitely falls off a lot in the later parts of the game. He has one combo, and then he's just not able to do a whole lot, whereas Gragas is going to be able to be a lot more consistent, can help you peel. Like, he has a lot more functionality in a longer team fight.
Yeah. Keep in mind that Rich this time around is going AP, so
yeah,
a little bit different. As you can see, he's going for the Everfrost. Makes sense. And, you know, casts are going to be able to do some crazy damage to that backline. So while they don't have as much poke with the Zoe Ezreal, they gain some back with AP Gragas.
Yeah. And it's definitely going to be difficult again for Def to get in there and do the damage that he needs to.
Yeah. Kalista against this comp is again, it's just insanely hard to make work. See what he can do as Rich is just dead.
Couldn't be more dead.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 people here, and he's trying his best to do as much damage as possible. At least Bay is getting a solo push on the top side. That's really all you can say here for Nongshim.
Yeah, and, you know, he's actually going to get away with it here, too. You can see very late rotation over from Chovy. And, in fact, this is kind of premeditated by Nongshim here, because they're trying to actually set up for this. Okay. I had to do the like almost throw to play-by-play.
Yeah.
Like, oh! Because they're actually we're putting a lot of pressure on Chovy, so he actually ends up losing all of that wave. Still up 20 CS, you know, just Chovy things, but.
Yep. And, you know, because of that pick on a Rich, he doesn't have his teleport, so this should be pretty free to take the Cloud Drake here. You see Peanut's hanging around. Actually, a little bit of a rotation is coming in, but not hard committing to this just yet.
Yeah, Nongshim really like to fight over these sometimes, but they don't have the tools.
Peanut thinking about it, but that's going to be a miss on the death sentence, and he will just get away. Mountain Rift this time around, so definitely going to be pretty massive for the side of Nongshim if you consider it, but already down to Drakes. We'll have to wait and see if they can get any.
I called Riot, and they said we used all of our Cloud Drakes in the regular season,
yes.
Cloud Souls, so they said there's not any left. There's no more left for playoffs, so just want to tell you guys.
Thank Faker. I'm glad that's done with. No more Cloud Souls here.
Well, Hanwha Life are going to actually get away with this double objective here. The Drake and the second Rift Herald here. Very much in control of this game and in control of the map. And I think that's partially because Udyr is just so great at making rotations difficult and unsafe. Makes it difficult to get vision control. And you know, Nongshim are just, unfortunately, just one step behind in terms of trying to get to these objectives. They're going to get the consolation prize here. I mean, it is the second Rift Herald. It's not the end of the world, but
yeah,
it's still significant. Nongshim just aren't able to even team fight.
Yeah, that's okay. Still waiting. And, you know, just hanging out, scaling up.
Yeah, that's
getting Jinx her items, you know, not wasting any time with that.
That's the name of the game for this comp. As we're going to watch this from quite some time ago, but this is actually the play that prevents Nongshim from being able to contest the Drake, because he died and have teleport, as you pointed out. And, you know, this ends up being pretty significant. You can see in the mid lane, like if you look at the minimap, like they were ready and actually blocking the rest of Nongshim from rotating in. It was a really nice play, and the timing of it was massive for the Drake. And Udyr just allows you to make plays like this, and it was not risky at all, because they knew where everybody was on the side of Nongshim, including Peanut. And that's the vision advantage you're going to get. I wasn't sure how to feel about Udyr early on in the season when Joshi picked him up and he got popular all around the world, but I feel like the more I've commentated it, the more I've watched it, you know, even in other regions, like, the Udyr pick is so strong for so many different reasons. His ability to clear vision, set up consistently in team fights.
And tank.
Kim Tank, yeah. I was just saying, tanking, yeah, you can do a little bit of that.
It's a great item. It's finally getting some nerfs.
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe a little late on that one, but, you know,
yeah,
we got there eventually. I mean, I think it's a really fun item. I've been a huge fan of it myself, personally.
Yeah, it's just the games where we had like 6 chem tanks being built where I was just like, okay, yeah, you might want to look at this item. And they did. As Morgan really looking to press the issue here. Just taking aggressive trades against a Gragas that, of course, going AP, is not going to be able to withstand so much of that damage as he would have been able to in game number 1.
This is a really nice position here, actually, for Hanwha Esports. They can clear more of this vision. Like, look at Johan do it, man. He's just in there, he's clearing it away. This is an uncharacteristically low ward score, in fact. They're going to steal the blue away. And, you know, I mean, if you're Hanwha Esports, like, you do lose out on this, and you grouped up and you had a nice position to maybe get a pick, but you didn't. So now you lose a turret for nothing. So, unfortunately, although it was a nice setup there and they got a lot of vision removed, they did not get... Like, Nongshim are actually just getting turrets for free on the map right now.
Hanwha Life are just giving turrets away, it feels like. Nobody was in the top side. Nobody was here in the middle lane except the Kalista. She can't ward away that pressure by herself. So, interesting. The turret does not go down, but I feel like the macro team of Hanwha Life kind of failing them a little bit there, maybe falling asleep as this game has slowed down in terms of the action.
Yeah, this one is definitely like, you know, last game when we hit 50 minutes, and even when we were hitting like 35 minutes, I didn't realize how much game time had passed because it was so action-packed. Sometimes when you get to a 50-minute game, you're like, well, this is really dragged on. Can we move on to the next one? But that was not the case for last game. But this game is definitely way slower. With Nongshim having a pretty significant lead in the kills, and their comp scales very well. So they're in a really nice spot. The fact that they don't have the Drakes, you know, I feel like is a really huge boon for Hanwha Life. As he caught the Udyr, so, you know.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, this is kind of the moment. Okay, Chaos Storm is going to be baited out there for a flash. A fantastic cast is going to force the flash away from Johan this time around. And now Nongshim have gotten some pressure, and the Scatter of the Weeks have been really great. This is what you were talking about. Bay has to be kind of in the front, landing Scatter of the Weeks and pressuring the enemy team away, and that's going to work.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's doing, you know. I didn't have faith in his ability to actually play these, you know, aggressive positions and actually take those chances, because you do have to be, like, out in front in order to make this happen. Look at him try to set up another one again. Oh, actually, I got baited by the clone there. I was like, whoa.
Here we go. Good flank coming in from Morgan. He doesn't get the ultimate he was looking for, but he pulls everybody in. Duckdom takes a massive amount of damage, and down will go Bait. Big rocket, though, comes out from Duckdom, trying to carry this team as well as he possibly can. Peanut now frontlining, as depth is going to get pretty low, and the Jinx has a great angle here. Chovy doing his best to try to zone him away, but the Lantern is so huge as it gets Duckdom into position to do the damage. Peanut goes for a bit of a run, but look at Duckdom. He has so much room, but he's not able to get the damage onto Chovy. Chovy just outplaying them there just a little bit too much.
Yeah, and Chovy actually needs to be careful about this Drake aggro.
Yeah.
They don't have enough health to actually secure the Mountain Drake, so they're going to have to reset. But it will go to Nongshim at the end of the day. What a crazy fight. I mean, it starts off very well here, you know, with Morgan at the backside, but he actually gets pushed into the wall. Like, the wall actually prevents his showstopper from actually being top tier. And then notice depth positioning actually in this fight. He's so extremely far forward, but isn't punished until very later on. You know, he's actually able to get so many autos off here on Peanut, then still survives, and does so much damage that he shouldn't be allowed to get away with because of all the damage coming out from Chovy. Everyone's health bars are so low. And then
the Lantern was so clutch.
The Lantern was super sick. And the stopwatch is perfect here from Vista. Johan does go down.
And just one more auto on a Chovy, 1 or 2 more.
Yeah.
Or a cask on a Chovy. It looks like he probably just barely got that cooldown back up.
Yeah.
But man, that was really on a nice edge. And as you mentioned, this should go the way of Nongshim. Bay had teleport, and Chovy was going to, you know, he had to go back. He couldn't exactly teleport right back into the fight. So he just went up to the top side. Hanwha Life are going to give this away. And this is actually really good for Nongshim, right? Yeah. You deny a lot of damage from that comp, and you've got the tankier comp on your side.
Yeah, for sure. And this is you know, this is the first step of many they're going to have to hit to close this game out. But you know, part of the reason why these early 2 Drake leads can be, hold that thought, Peanut is really really deep, but they do respect him. But I was going to say that the 2 Drake advantage here means that, you know, losing Drakes like this is not the end of the world for Nongshim, or rather for Hanwha Esports. So it is significant that Nongshim get this. Nongshim have the ability to get 4 mountains, and that would be insane, but we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, if they got 4, would be pretty nice. I mean, as we mentioned before the game's even started, the Verdant Barrier nerf on 11.6, you know, that's something that maybe one of these guys would have built. Neither of them are going for it. So we're just getting like pure damage in here, plus Merc Treads to kind of like fulfill the same role that the Verdant Barrier was fulfilling. So you don't have as much MR on your mid laners that you could be potentially enhancing through Mountain Drakes, but at least the tanks on the side of Nongshim are still going to get a really nice boon from that. Obviously, the tanks on Hanwha Life this time around, they've got Udyr and Set as well, so it's not half bad for them either.
Yeah, no, true. It's a very significant Drake. I mean, you're going to be fighting over this one every time. For Nongshim here, I feel like the engage tools that they have, if they can execute them as well as they have been in these last few skirmishes, and there's a lot of really ways that this can go very wrong very quickly for Hanwha Life. Chovy is going to be the one doing majority of the damage in this game, and then Deft can help clean up. It's crazy that Deft was able to get away with what he did in that last team fight on the Kalista.
Yeah.
It's like, that should not be happening. But Nongshim's target priority was a little bit off there.
Yeah, it's really rough to play Kalista into Jinx Syndra. I mean, you can even get cast by the Gragas, you can get hooked by the Thresh. It's not easy. Yeah. Trust me.
I mean, the thing is, like, you really are reliant on Morgan's initiation. And you can see even last time when he had the showstopper into the wall there, it ended up allowing so much damage for Chovy and Deft in that choke point. But
yeah,
later into the game we go, those types of engages become weaker and weaker. And oftentimes Morgan will even just be punished for trying to run into a team fight and setting that up.
Yeah, might just get Scat of the Week and then blown up.
Exactly.
In one rotation. So you got to be really careful and pick your spots well.
You might even not get the showstopper off, you know, with all the CC that Nongshim have. He didn't go Ghost, you know. It's like he's got some CC to get through. But if he can set it up consistently, I mean, that is the role of Set in these team fights. He presses his combo, has a showstopper, and then he just looks at people.
Yeah.
Kind of what he does.
Chovy just bought a Rabadon's Death Cap.
Yeah, I mean, he has 300 CS, why not?
And 4 kills.
Yeah.
He's definitely got the most gold in this game.
And he, remember that early Dark Seal he got earlier?
Yeah.
Getting some value.
8 stacks already. Maybe with the stopwatch, we just see a Medai's picked up here.
I think so, yeah.
I don't think it's a bad option because you win one team fight and then you're just doing too much damage. Like, it's just way too much. This though is the power of AP Gragas that Everfrost just barely missing Deft.
The shield.
The shield bow comes in, just barely gonna save him, but like, you can just throw some of that poke out, and the more I watch this comp, I'm like, actually...
Nongshim have a way better comp, I think, in a vacuum, right? At this stage of the game.
Yeah, but also the poke, I thought they were, like, losing a lot, but actually, they have an insane amount still.
And they have a vision of this, Hanwha Esports do, but with no flash on Deft, it's really hard to take this fight. Look at the Lantern positioning, too, potentially here.
Kellen put the box in a perfect spot. And he is able to deny any hope for Hanwha Life to get in here. Chovy, you can see he's level 16, 4 kills, over 300 CS. He's got 8 stacks on his Dark Seal, and he's just trying to carry.
He's like, I would like to play the game. I would like the team fight. He's like, are we going to go in? Because I can do a lot of damage. And you know, at this stage of the game, he is very fed with the Death Cap and Rich.
He's a little bit of an awkward spot, but as you can see, able to do a nice amount of damage. And Morgan might just be able to save him. Chovy able to take down the Gragas. What poise to just sit there and be able to do that.
That was amazing. That was so well played. He's like, nope, I know how to chase him. Very well played here from Morgan. And Peanut is now here trying to potentially stop this Drake, or rather, he's rotating over, but he's just not going to be here in time. Nice try, the Duck Dom. That's the
the Jinx thing.
Good old Jinx special.
Yeah, that's a thing now.
Your second smite. It definitely is a thing, and it has worked before.
Yeah. The Baron buff's still here for Nongshim. You can see the power play is pretty meager right now, right? It's 400 golds. That's not really what you're looking for. The average Baron power play of both of these teams is very high.
Chovy dodges the Everfrost, doesn't get hit by the cask, drops his ult down. By the way, Peanut is here. He knows Peanut is there. He has a perfect stopwatch, and then just is able to mow him down.
After casually dodging 7 skill shots, Chovy takes down the tank.
Yep. And, I mean, that's his stopwatch gone, but he also finished his Mage Eyes.
Yep, the Mage Eyes comes in. Definitely the item you're purchasing now.
Chovy, you know, last game I felt like Chovy robbed Vis a little bit, you know, in the POG. But in this game, he is definitely outplaying everybody on the other side.
Yeah.
And in that last exchange, like, yes, he killed Rich, but he styled on the entirety of Nongshim by himself.
Yeah. It's great to see, by the way, side point, that every single time we see Peanut on camera, he's smiling.
Yes.
It's kind of the Peanut thing, but you can tell he's really enjoying his time here in the playoffs, regardless of the result. What happens here. Not saying even that they're going to lose. I mean, a lot of this gold right now for Hanwha Life is in Chovy, and if they don't have that, they're relying on a Kalista that gets super outranged and can just get one rotation. So, again, it's kind of like Duck Dom in the last game. This is all on Chovy kind of to carry in this later game team fight scenario. Unless Def can get like the 500 IQ positioning and dodge everything, which is an option, but again, it's not easy.
Yeah, no, it's very difficult. I mean, there's just so many ways for him to get destroyed. And what happens with good positioning with Kalista sometimes is that you just don't do anything. And you said it last game too, we saw the stats, the score, the damage stats at the end of the game, post-game breakdown, like the damage was significantly lower for Deft because of the difficulty in a longer game of actually doing that consistent damage. And in this game, it's such a compounded issue because of Nongshim's comp. And Nongshim are just grouping up and taking turrets off the map, and it does feel like Hanwha Life have been a little bit slow to respond to this style of play. And there's so much of the map that's removed and opened up now for Nongshim. They have a lot of good vision here because of it.
They also have some really great siege on the turrets, right? With their composition, they have the range advantage, especially if Jovi's not there. It's like, well, you don't have much wave clear at all. You're going to be relying on like Nico and maybe an Udyr to step forward or something. Yeah, it's going to be rough if you don't have Chovy there. And I think Nongshim are doing the right thing. If Chovy's not there, push the turret, and there's not much they can do. You're just going to get a lot of map gold very early on in this game.
Yeah, that's really putting, it's really pushing the issue for Johan as well. Like, he's unable to consistently get super deep value on the enemy side of the map because all these waves are pushed, the turrets are being taken down. Well, that's one of the weaknesses of Udyr is a grouped up team. It's just really hard to actually do anything with that. In team fights, you can, you know, end up getting some value, get into the backline, harass, set up some stuns, but look at the damage in this game. Chovy is 5,000 ahead of the second most, which is Rich. But also, look at Deft's damage. He's 4,000 behind Duck Dom.
Yeah, and then Bay is below him. I don't even know how that's possible, to be honest.
Well, I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah, Syndra has to be doing more damage. What we saw in the river before was actually very nice. We got to see more of that. But yeah. I suppose the teams right now, for the last 4 minutes or so, they've just been waiting for the objectives to spawn here. As you can see, the teleport is going to be used. They're grouping up now for the Mountain Soul that could potentially be taken here by Hanwha Life. And Nongshim just gets zoned out of the mid lane casually by a nice little gravity field.
Rich is in a really nice position here.
Oh, Johan, he's going to flash away, and that's what we were talking about. The set just gets blown to pieces.
He disappeared.
He goes in and he dies.
Yeah, that's the damage output that Nongshim have at this stage of the game. You showstopper your life away. That was pretty insane. I think that Hanwha Life needed to respect Nongshim a lot more in this moment. Yeah, they had the wave control, they had Prio on the push, and there was a whole wave of minions, but then just a seemingly random engage from Morgan there, instead of just trying to back away. Ooh, that's
look at this Pop Blossom. Double Zonya's used as Duck Dom has to blow his stopwatch early. And that's going to be real nice. They can just back away from this one, but the engage on a Chovy. Rich tries to make it happen, and he just dies. The amount of damage that they have is just way too much. Even Deft is getting value here as Peanut tries to pull him forward, nearly gets snipe, but is not able to go down. Peanut forced to ult back from the fight.
Deft has his GA, and he feels very confident to actually step forward and do that damage. And this team fight in particular, once Rich is gone, it's very easy.
Well, Vista is dead, but the Mountain Drake is going to go the way of Hanwha Life. That's a trade I would take every day.
Yeah, they don't have ult for the Jinx to actually try to steal that away. Would have been a huge opportunity to get value out of that this time around, but not going to happen. Mountain Soul completed, right? This is not just any Drake they get with this. So this is actually very, very strong now for Hanwha Life Esports. If they didn't have that early Drake control, then this would not have been possible. So you know, those are some of your ways to come back and win this game as Hanwha Life. I mean, also Chovy, who, by the way, bought his Zhonya's outright from the broken stopwatch just moments ago. And now it's even more difficult to deal with him.
Yeah, I mean, he is basically on full builds.
Yeah.
Already. I mean, he's got him at dies. But he'll be keeping that. As here we're going to see this once again, this engage.
Yeah, I mean, he was dead before he hit the ground practically. As Vista, you know, in some of these fights too, like, he's actually got really nice flanks. Like, this is the Pop Blossom that gets 2 Zhonyas, as you mentioned. And he gets face called back in. And Hanwha Life Esports here staying a little bit long. Rich sees an opportunity, but he's just blown up so quickly. There was not enough follow-up damage there. A little bit of a miscommunication there.
He didn't even get to cast his cast.
Yeah, no, like, I mean,
died so quickly.
There's just so much damage on both sides. If you're in there alone, you're in trouble.
We're seeing some significant stuff happen in live, by the way.
Yeah.
Peanut is denying all of these backs. 3 members of Hanwha Life not able to back. And most importantly, Chovy is not there to stop the push. They have Baron buff right now.
Yeah, this is actually huge. Oh, he's going to get another interrupt.
Oh, what?
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 Not interrupt.
I don't know. I guess maybe he had a shield or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Chovy is able to go back, though. Or not yet, but still able to stop the push for now. Johan is getting on in there. The hook is glorious from Kellen. And now the front to back for Duckdown might be good enough, but look at the damage coming out. They're able to kill Vista, though. That is exactly what they need. And maybe they can get on top of Duckdown. That's what they need to do in order to have any chance to win this game. Chovy is still alive in this team fight. And I feel like, oh, they get the hook on the Chovy. I think that might just be it, but they get the kill on the Duckdom. Who is going to win here? Chovy goes down, Duckdom survives, and Nongshim will be able to push in and take the game.
They're going to take the game. They got 75 seconds of Baron buff left. What a turnaround. You have to be a little bit critical of Hanwha Life's map awareness and their macro in this game. They gave away several turrets for free, and they let Nongshim steal the game with some interrupted backs and a Baron buff.